Looks like Sarah and Nick had absolutely nothing better to do with their time than to sit around and talk about SEO. So naturally, they thought, hey, why not drag everyone else into it too? And thus, this glorious creation was born, a podcast. Now, does it have a name? Of course not. You can call it the Sara and Nick Podcast, or perhaps the No Name Podcast. Either way, it's pure genius, or pure chaos. Probably both. But don't be fooled. These two aren't just sitting around roasting title tags and drinking tea, or spilling it. They're actually very busy people who just happen to really, really love SEO. And since the SEO world is basically always on fire, right? They decided it's the perfect time to start talking about it. So grab your popcorn and your keyword cannons, folks, because Sara and Nick's No Name Podcast is about to begin.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sara and Nick Podcast. This is a new episode, and today we have Favour. Super excited to have you here, Favour. So I've met Favour last Tuesday, and he talked about Pinterest SEO, and this is not something we talk about very often in SEO, and I was so impressed. So I thought I need to talk to him again, and he has a wealth of knowledge in that area. Favour, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Sarah and Nick, for having me on your podcast today. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to sharing so much good information with you about Pinterest. For those who are hearing me for the first time, my name is Favour Obasi-ike, and I am an entrepreneur-based business owner and also a creator in everything, because I started off as a drummer. I'm a self-taught drummer, and that turned into music as a producer and now into podcasting. And I've turned that into a business where I help business entrepreneurs, creators, and small to large business enterprises understand how they can optimize their websites and also protect their assets online using SEO and semantics. And we use an inch of Pinterest and an inch of podcast to make sure that you can move the needle as a business, to make sure that you're creating more consistent feedback loops, and also you're building your avatar for your clients' prepositions based on what they need for their goals and their milestones in the quarters of the years you work with them. So yes, we love to scale businesses, and Pinterest is one of the best places because Pinterest has a great, I can call it a great domain authority that if Pinterest is part of your pockets within your industry, you're always going to be winning because you have good trust signals. So we'll talk about that too. Thank you for having me.
We're super happy. Nick, should I go first or you want to start?
Yeah, you can open that. I just wanted to say, amazing background. We each time trying with these conversations to extend our network and query to put someone interesting in front of our audience. And I cannot believe how different actually people backgrounds actually are. Usually you expect someone who is dev or techie background. I didn't prior my marketing career. While I was teenager, in high school, stuff like that, I was working mostly in the restaurants or security stuff, similar stuff to that. So I really always love to put some emphasis on that, how many different backgrounds people actually have. One of my great friends and currently our past podcast guest, Russ, he was for example, a wedding organizer. So it was actually I was blown away. So I would love to start to not yap too much around those things. I wanted to start to just ask you can you make some interesting parallels with your past careers or your hobbies or whatever with your marketing knowledge, how you made that transition, and query what was something that because you mentioned you are over 15 years, if I heard good enough in the area. So I wanted to just to ask you what actually made you stick to this profession and to everything that you are doing apart creative side.
Thank you. I think for me the major thing is creativity, because we were created out of love. We were created as human beings out of love. God created us for love. We were put in the world to love. So when we love, we create. And when you like to paint, when you like to eat, when you like to talk, when you like to walk, there are things that you do that makes your body feel good. You help somebody, you take care of somebody, family, friend, spouse, you feel it because it's something that happens from within. So that's something I believe for me was the intention. And I decided to now use that as a way to extend and say, how can this turn into a business? How can this turn into intellectual property? How can this turn into extension? Because everybody can do the same thing. So what makes you different? So for me, I decided to say, how can I put myself out there for people to learn? And I can educate them so that I can empower them with knowledge, because the information I know and I keep it to myself, it's of a disservice if you don't know it. And I could have told you, and then you could have saved yourself 3 hours of research because you know one thing. So I always love to think about that for people because I always value people's time. So I don't take that for granted. And that's how I was able to now turn drumming, music, and now building it from just basic knowledge of just playing the drums at my parents' church all the way through now to building a podcast called We Don't Play Podcast.com. And We Don't Play is now over 620 episodes. This is our 7th year. And we are going to be we're actually in about 160 countries. And we're connecting with people all over the world in our 12th season, just spreading the same information I'm here, telling you about how you can be expansive as a business without having to do too much. Because nowadays with AI, with technology, people are doing so many things. They're posting, connecting. And then you look back, you wonder how much traffic have you gained? How many connections have you made? I met Sara on Tuesday. We're here on Thursday. That doesn't happen on a like and a comment on Instagram, so you have to be very intentional about connections because you never know who you can meet tomorrow. So that's how I took my hobbies and connecting with people, playing the drums, being the leader of the band, to now being the leader of marketing campaign, and now I'm able to help people understand the analytics because I'm big on data, and I have a master's in entertainment business and an MBA in business admin with, an undergrad in communications and media and peace and conflict. So I've been able to use all these different things from education to creativity to business to understand, okay, what's the main major factor here? So that's what I've been able to do to help businesses grow and understand that you don't need to do a lot to get a lot. You just need to do a little that can get you to the next step. And that's what Pinterest is there for, as opposed to using social media extensively. You can use it as an extension as opposed to it being as the fundamental. Yeah.
I like what you said, that you can do little and get more done because you're intentional and you're targeting exactly what you need. And so what made you focus on Pinterest, right? Like, why Pinterest? I mean, it's a great platform, but it's always, I don't know, flies above our heads. I'm not sure why. So that's the first thing I want to know, like really why. And then what are your tips for someone who wants to start on Pinterest?
So Pinterest is a very unique place. It's a very unique place. And I'll just give you some context. Back in 2020 during the pandemic, everybody was on social media, and you would see tags on social media posts talking about this information with COVID-19 and those things. Now on Pinterest, you couldn't run ads about that. There's a Pinterest code, of conduct. You can't be able to do those things because of different restrictions, because people on Pinterest love to be positive. That's literally their goal, positivity. So if you go to Pinterest, you're going there to plan, you're going there to think, you're going there to process, and you're there very early in your journey. So for me, I thought about it. I said, okay, I do SEO for businesses. I help businesses. And I'm like, okay, what's one thing that's different? Everybody's doing blogs. Everybody's doing backlinks. Everything is the same. So what can I make a difference of that will make an extension? And I said to myself, okay, let me look and see what's really the underlying factor. And when you look at search consoles, for example, you see web, you see images, you see video, you see news. So if video is YouTube, then what's images? Images could be Pinterest, because Pinterest could be an extension. So I was kind of like doing a lot of math in my head. And I was like, okay, Pinterest is there because you go to Google Images, you technically see Pinterest. So imagine if you have an account and you put content there and that's being triggered back into your system, that's a good win. So Pinterest is a good backlink for you. You can get good external linking from there, internal linking. So I thought, why not use Pinterest as an extension? And you don't get Instagram.com or Facebook.com. Those happen, but Pinterest is a visual search engine, but people look at it as a social media, which is the opposite.
Nice. That's really nice. And one thing you mentioned here, uh, I just connected things in my as you talk. Social signals, like you can get social signals from being present on Pinterest and people interacting with your pins, and then that would actually pass some authority to your website, right? Because clickable links and that sort of thing, it's all connected, right? And I like that you focused on an area that is just overlooked. And so, okay, what's your tips for someone who, Nick, if feel free to jump in. I know I can keep talking, like I talk a lot. I think Favour is aware of this. Okay, I'll try not to, but okay, so if someone wants to start on Pinterest, what is your first tip for them, or what would you tell them?
The first thing I'll tell them is, if they want to use Pinterest for business, if you want to use Pinterest for business and you've never used it at all, go to business.pinterest.com. And when you sign up with your work email, your professional email, because the same way you sign up for business contacts, business card, you want to treat business on Pinterest the same way. So once you do that and you have your domain, that already in itself is a domain acquisition, because you're going to copy the TXT record to your DNS, your domain name server. So that in itself is already claiming property. You can't claim that on Facebook. You can't claim that on Instagram. So if anyone is to do that, just not to overwhelm, that will be the very first step. Once you do that and you claim your podcast, you claim your Instagram, you claim your website, those are the things that you can do by RSS feed extensions. Even if you, let's say you write articles on your website, you can actually add the RSS feed, really syndication feed, the really simple syndication feed to your website. So it would be your website.com/RSS. You'll be able to see it there. So if you use Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, Shopify, the list is endless. These are the things that you can still use on Pinterest. So if you have a blog and your blog has 3 images, 5 images, imagine all those images on Pinterest now. It's like you posting 5 reels or 5 carousel images on Instagram. You did the same thing on your website, but it's not translated into a social post. It's translated into a signal post. So like what you said, Sarah, it's the difference on how you expand that, because Pinterest has a lifespan of 5 months compared to Instagram, which is about 72 hours. So when you do the math, you're able to compound. And if the lifespan of a blog is 24 months, then you're always going to be ahead of the seasonal curve.
I had a question here, query regarding images, stuff like that. I really love whole your process of I would say reverse engineering, because I think that's the real business advantage that anyone can apply. So also when I started 10 years ago in search, I was doing pretty much the same. Okay, let's break down all the channels. Let's see what is the best fit for me, and at the end of the day, let's see what I can start in the easiest way to get the clients, get the knowledge. But first and foremost, I was needed to be passionate about some channel, as I'm with organic, with SEO, query within the time that spread a lot to all other organic channels. But I need to admit, I'm one of those guilty guys. I never looked at Pinterest, for example, in the same way as I looked even nowadays on forums, Reddit, stuff query. You're gonna say that's Reddit is the website of the Google. Yes, it is, but it is forum. It is different website, a different type of the website. So the same way, then I started to also within the time and experience and different clients, see how different departments utilized Instagram, utilized TikTok, and basically my knowledge spread, and I was okay, this is very interesting. I'm gaining beneficial information regarding overall marketing, regarding my also channels, because I can spot the patterns. I can see the demographic behavior. I can see different audiences. I can see reactions, engagement, and stuff like that. So I will give some examples later on, but I wanted to just explain how different channels giving you different insights. And on top of that, my wife actually using a lot of Pinterest. And when we needed to do, like, for example, some architecture work for our property or stuff like that, she's like, legitimately like using Pinterest. And I was like, I never saw that. And I dig a bit more about, like, usage and everything, just to learn about the platform, because, like, hey, another marketing channel. And I found like huge following and stuff like that. And quite before in my career, with some of the clients that we had, I was like, okay, like, some of the clients really considering Pinterest too. So my point there is like how you actually can pitch this idea. Like, is it this like for specific niche? Is it like a Pinterest channel for only like specific audiences? Where we know you need to be like very heavy on visuals and creativity, which you love. So it's a phenomenal channel for you. But again, like I'm just interested, like, how you know who is your main ICP, how you know who can utilize the pitches the best, because I can guess for example some startups or tech or similar stuff, it cannot be like maybe the best channel, but I wanted to hear your opinion on that.
The reason why it's one of the best channels and the most underrated platforms is because you'll always see Pinterest there as a search signal compared to a social signal. So when you hear people talk about marketing, they hear Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X. They're there. There's Blue Sky. You can use different platforms to do social media marketing, but that is going to be an extension off of your search engine marketing, which most people, I would say, they commingle or they just put together, because you may say, okay, I do finance, I don't need Pinterest, because you rather use LinkedIn. Yet what you're posting on LinkedIn, you don't own that content because it's on proprietary information from Microsoft, because Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So if you're on Pinterest, you own 100% of your content. So if you're sending people to your website from Pinterest, you're giving Google a signal, you're giving YouTube a signal. If you have a YouTube channel, you're giving every signal is coming from that source. And how you will know, because I know you mentioned, how do you measure metrics? How you'll know that is when you go to your Google Search Console, SEO wise, and you go to the bottom left-hand corner and you click on links. If you see Pinterest there as one of the target pages, then that's a good signal that you have strength when it comes to domain authority. So we're looking at backlinks, portfolios, blogs, all those things. So any company can use Pinterest. It just depends on how you put it there. And a good thing to note as well is that Pinterest has audience insights. Audience insights tell you, your location, whether they use a phone, a tablet. You can also target by zip code or by province. So you can be very specific if you want to run ads. For example, Apple, I always say this for instance, Apple, every September, whenever Apple drops a new product, they're on Pinterest for 30 days in September without fail, because because Apple is using Pinterest as a way to connect with purchasers, people who go to purchase. The purchasing power is about 40% more than social media. So just imagine you're spending $1, you're getting $40 back, compared to spending $1 every day on Instagram and Facebook, you're trying to get 2 or 3 back. So when you look at the lifespan of the lifetime value of the customer, you'd rather be on Pinterest than you use it on social media. But you can use both. But if you don't use Pinterest, that's fine. But companies that use Pinterest, they definitely see the benefits of their results long term.
That was actually my question. How you like actually, because I'm not familiar with Pinterest to that extent. So you answered that they have their own built-in analytics, so that you can like follow up with that. Also, you mentioned something that clearly it was back on my head, but it was like, how ads actually performing on Pinterest. So I have like just like one small question, like sub question, let's say, regarding this topic. So do you think like that for Pinterest, like you have like good way to build organic presence there without like, blasting with the money regarding like ads and stuff like that? Could you explain how any company can benefit from it, regarding like, search signals and stuff like that? But do you think that, do you spot the patterns, let's say, between your clients, that maybe like someone who is ready to invest in Pinterest expects more like conversion, like direct conversions from that, or do you think that like Pinterest can be also like offered, as I said, to some tech companies or startups that are maybe not like their audience maybe is not on the Pinterest? So what's the benefit for them apart social signals?
The best thing right now is also intellectual property and sustainability in the market. Because I just recently, we're in February, Google just released their core update not too long ago. So when you check their documentation, you can see how they've changed the way they're capturing crawl budgets and data. So when you start noticing that Google is changing, Microsoft is changing, AI is coming, and all these things, you wonder, how do you keep up? So the goal is to protect your assets, and you're building that with Pinterest. So if you're using Pinterest and everybody's clicking on Pinterest, that link is going to two places. It's going to your website, and it's also going to Google. So if Google is going to look for search pictures and your Pinterest title had the key term, the key phrase in the title, then that's going to be a referral for you. So you're getting those signals from different sources, and you're also not planning to like spread it out. Like you said, you want it to be very strategic for tech software. If it's a SaaS company, your goal is to now educate them. What is SaaS? If someone doesn't even know what the acronym stands for or what it even means, that's where you come in with education. So when they ask ChatGPT or ask Perplexity, they're able to get you as a citation, and that also improves your total addressable market, your TAM. So when you start looking at those measures, as opposed to just focusing on what social channel, those signals starts to build more for you over time. And if you want to run ads, it's even better. There's a study that was done. I think it was NPT Digital that did it. And I saw it from Neil Patel. Shout out to him. He saw that. He talked about it some time ago. And he said something that was very specific on ads. He said that, and I think they did a survey, and YouTube have the highest number of skips when it comes to advertising, which is true, because a lot of people love to skip ads because they would rather pay YouTube TV to waive the ads, to skip ads. People pay Spotify Premium to skip ads because people don't want ads. So you'd rather pay to skip rather than get it for free. So if you think about that model and you transfer that into Pinterest, Pinterest has the lowest skip rate. So now, if you now scan on Pinterest and you're looking for gardening tools or you're looking for technology tools, and you find that on Pinterest, if you find something there, you may not even look at it as an ad. It may look like it's like a camouflage in a way. So you don't look at Pinterest as an ad, you look at it as an asset. So that's why you're able to now build over time, and you're able to have higher conversion lifts, get leads, and you can also have a pixel. You know how you can have Facebook and Instagram have a meta pixel? You can also have a pixel with Pinterest. It's called a Pinterest tag. So when you have those tags, like you mentioned, it's easy for you to now attribute your success to those measurements.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I just wanted to jump in to say that, like, thank you so much for that breakdown. I really think it's amazing. Uh, Again, like this like opens up, and like that's the point of this podcast, and we are trying to educate ourselves too. To that, I would like from my experience and top of my head, without like your explanation, I would like thinking that like mostly like companies that would be interested in Pinterest marketing would be companies that like expect direct correlation between marketing there and leads or actually purchases or whatever, as you said. But then when you think about different signals and stuff that Pinterest can help you, because like it's one more medium to be present on, that I guess can be free. I just wanted to jump in, and like this is the last of my segments of questions regarding this topic, but I wanted to jump in and ask you regarding Pinterest, like, does organic marketing without any money influence there, uh, you know, performing well, or you still need to build or like to actually invest in so that you can gain the traction that you are looking for the channel?
Great question. So you don't need to run ads on Pinterest to gain maximum visibility. Most people actually don't run ads on Pinterest. That's why it's very unsaturated, which is a good thing. So you can actually gain more. So with Pinterest, your focus is to build sustainability by building organic content. So let's say you have a website, you write articles, let's say you do 4 to 8 articles in a month. And within those 4 to 8 articles, you have between, let's say, 4 to 20 images, let's say. Now imagine those images are on Pinterest and you're not running ads, but all those images are linking back to your podcast, they're linking back to your website, they're linking back to your social platforms. You're building that without having to spend money. So within the fourth month of Pinterest, that's when usually you can break even. So if you do consistently, that's 120 days, and you have 360 days 365 days in the year. Imagine doing that times 2 or times 3, because even Pinterest has 5 quarters in the year. They don't have 4. So when you think about it, you have to be very specific, but you can definitely make money without having to spend money, but you have to spend time, and also spend time with data, and also understand the consumer behavior, because Pinterest have something called actor likes compared to Facebook and Instagram where it's lookalikes.
Nice. I want to jump in and shift gears a bit and talk about podcasting, since you have a podcast and it's a super successful podcast. And I think there's a lot for us to learn. Me and Nick, we're just winging our way and learning as we go. And even our podcast, we were like, what should we call it? And then we decided just Sara and Nick podcast. So what are your tips there for someone who, we're creating content every month, right? We have a guest every month, and that's about it. Basically, we're trying to distribute on LinkedIn. This is the main place we do, but we also plan on expanding, elsewhere. So Spotify and so on. But just your thoughts. What tips would you give us so we can grow this and make it successful?
Great question, and congratulations on starting. And I can't wait to see more and more episodes, because it's the beginning of great things. And that's why, looking back and seeing the things I could do better, I would love to help you like jetpack so that you can do more, with less, and also impact more people at the same time. And podcasting is majorly a big deal when it comes to 3 things. There's a primary keyword, there's a secondary keyword, and there's a monitored keyword. So when you have those 3 keywords, you're able to now know where you play into those brackets. And just like you do that with topical pillars and clusters, with blogs, you do the same thing with the podcast. So the goal is to build your podcast in a way that people can find you by having the right hosting, because most times people have a podcast and they leave it on YouTube. I had a call with somebody before getting on a call here, about podcasting, and he was talking about having a podcast, and the podcast is going to be on YouTube. And I said, imagine if you have the podcast on YouTube plus 10 other platforms, 30 other platforms, with one push of a button, because you've distributed your content across the globe using a hosting as opposed to using a podcast on a channel. So when you think about your podcast, think about longevity and think about distribution, so that your keywords can also be in the mix. And that's how, you can be found on Alexa, Siri, Google, and all these other tools, because your titles is pretty much the keys to your audience response.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Sara, quickly, I will let you ask questions regarding this, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this. We kind of get in our mind, query. This is something that we are doing by our own efforts, and even though I have team behind me regarding our main stuff, and that's organic marketing and organic growth. It is hard to keep up with everything, that's for sure. But also again, I'm guilty of that fact. But one very very overseen thing is that people usually, even when we are talking about distribution, uh, it's again coming up to me that we are skipping so many channels. Again, Sara mentioned, yes, we query have YouTube, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple, or iTunes. We wanted to do that, but then you mentioned you have maybe 30 more free options where you can distribute your content, and then you're just skipping opportunity because you're not well informed about that. So I think this is one of the greatest tips, and Sara and I will try to apply that for sure, because when we putting effort in, everyone loves to get something out of it. So Sara, please take over with the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, what's your favorite podcasting tools? Like, what tools do you use in general for, the entire thing? Like, whether it's recording it, editing it, distributing it. Like, if you have tools that you recommend. Would love to learn about that.
Yeah, there are tools that you can use like Riverside, which is a good platform. I don't know if you've heard of it before. It's a good platform. And if you're hearing for the first time, for those listening, riverside.com is a good website that you can use as a professional studio where you can build podcasts, you can get clips, because sometimes after you record, you want to clip. And there are other tools that can do that too these days, especially with Opus Clips and the rest of them. But when you think about expansion, you want to use your podcast as a way to help more people grow. So that's where I use it. And then for, audio production, I use Adobe, which is very helpful. You can use Adobe Enhance too. They have an Enhance for your podcast as well if you want to enhance your audio after mixing. If you don't use the Adobe suite, because I use Adobe, the creative suite. So that's why I, make sure I focus on those things. Even when I use my podcast for my images, this is something that not a lot of people know, but I've talked about it before. The maximum you can do to get maximum visibility is 3,000 by 3,000 pixels for your podcast cover. Some people do 1080 by 1080, and you have, like you talked about it, Nick, you have all the ceiling space, but you're only using a little bit. When you have all this, you can flow. So that's also one thing I use on Adobe Photoshop to make sure that it's there. Put the file name. When you put the file name with your MP3, if it's podcast, tips.mp3, your names are there. It's going to help and build that attribution because your author names will start coming up in the file directories because you're uploading to servers. So you're technically creating a database online. So that's why I always go technical. I don't like to give tools because when I give tools, people get shiny and then they get lost and then it blinds them and then they forget the whole mission. So I want to make sure that you're good. But starting off with those little things, you can definitely go a long way.
Amazing. Also, I wanted to jump in here, and again, it was like kind of our agenda for today, or maybe kind of not. It was like newsletter. I really think that newsletters are becoming like mainstream nowadays. And when we think like, I recently posted on LinkedIn, and because I'm using that platform as my main medium, but I'm honestly like super sad because it losing the charm that had in for example 5 years ago. But the point is that like I think like today like a lot of those like different brand or self brand building mediums becoming mainstream. One of them are for sure newsletter. Sara runs amazing newsletter, and I'm even trying to find someone apart or besides me that actually don't run newsletter right now. Also, I wanted to do that, but it would be one more thing on my already like super long list of the obligations, and I don't want to start something that I would not give 100%, 101% of my efforts. So I guess from your extensive knowledge and everything that we shared until this point, you can like probably give us like some tips regarding that because I saw that you are running newsletter. So can you just like briefly guide us through that medium and how you utilize it?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to do it, especially when you have your podcast. Also put your LinkedIn on your podcast show notes. So when your name is there, if your name is there, highlight your name, anchor text, put your LinkedIn. That's a big win because that in itself is putting you in that search. So if you ask Perplexity and Perplexity is sourcing for data and your name is there and it's connected to a citation, that's a good win. So you want to just have your library of knowledge within that panel. That's a good thing to do. And if you have I would say a company LinkedIn profile or a LinkedIn company profile, in the settings section, there's a place where you can add an RSS. So you can add your RSS there. And that way you have automatic pushes, just like you have on Pinterest for your blogs, you have on your podcast for LinkedIn. So that's one of the benefits you can have on using LinkedIn. And then of course your newsletters, link them to your website, link them to your pages, link them to your platforms. And of course, if you use iframes that you can also embed, those are going to be good ways for you to also have that into the scripting of your show. Instead of just putting links, you can add the embedded codes because those codes allow you to script the pages. And that's what people use to find you. More connections will build more than just the links that you outbound or inbound to your property.
Amazing. So that's one for sure way how to utilize that. Sara maybe has like more questions regarding newsletter. Again, I'm newbie in this, just like wanted to find information on how to best tackle that, and query. I know like I need to commit. That's like the first step, because I think in all businesses like that first step is the hardest, and on all journeys the first step is the hardest to make. After that, it's going easier. So Sara, please
One
add some.
last question, Favor. Don't worry. First, I just want to say that I really like the RSS tip. I feel that I've never heard that before. So thank you so much for sharing this. So sometimes, like as a newsletter creator myself, I feel it's crowded. How do you like if you feel that you're in an area that's crowded? How would you go about standing out or differentiating your newsletter?
Great question. The best way to do it, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to share with you what I'm doing. So if you try it out and it works for you, great. One way to stand out is by using GIFs. If you don't use GIFs, that's the one thing you can, GIFs or GIFs, you can use them, and those would be really good things. You can download the Giphy app, Giphy app, on your app store, on your Play Store, and you copy that and paste it into the cover. So if you upload, like, let's say you're using your phone, your computer, and it's .gif or instead of .jpeg or .png, you upload that, and that's a good way to attract people. So that's a good way to attract and say, okay, this is what you're talking about. If this is February or March, if there's a season or if there's a topic, if there's something going on, you can use that as a way to build attention and retention. And then, of course, get to the meat and potatoes, get them in, because people like to see those things 5 seconds. But now if they spend 5 minutes and then they spend 5 hours, that's when you're able to build, that consistency long-term with one person over time.
Amazing tip, and I really think that yeah, like for me personally, I can like share like different view, because like I'm subscriber on a decent amount of newsletters. But for me, it's like make it or break it like in two ways. First, I always and we cannot connect that with podcast. I always scan for the title. So like is this like some topic that is interesting? Query, I'm subscriber to Sara's newsletter for years now, but then I was like, okay, like some topics are interesting to me, maybe some topics are not. So like sometimes I'm reading, sometimes I'm skipping that. So the title is first one. Second one is for sure what you said. Like if the cover is like something that I can, spot my or like get my attention. I really think nowadays, as an agency owner, I'm getting like tons of emails daily, and like most of them I never open, because like I first and foremost like a lot of are like very offering and something that is not related relevant to me. But also even like even like the email or something should be like good enough to get my attention to actually click on it. So that's like amazing tip. I think that's something that also I'm scanning while like deciding should I like read the newsletter, stuff like that. And third part, I really think like visual appearance of the template and stuff like that. Why I really love like the points where like for me that still like keeps my brain focused. Maybe like switch bold parts or italic fonts, then like some images, as you said, some gifs, then like breakpoints and stuff like that. I really prefer that than like just like full block of text or copy. I know that at the end it is important what is inside, so I'm forcing myself even when I see like block of text to go over that to get like information. But yeah, like those would be like as a completely newbie again in this some points there. So also I had one last question again, Favor. So if you can uh, describe, and I really think basically this is inspired by my latest LinkedIn post. If you can give someone like tips and tricks to start into industry right now, in your industry right now, or like in your like focus area, what that would be, because like I really love to give uh, some people that are newcomers like some grounded advice how to succeed and how to get first clients, and how to opt in for area that you should focus.
Great question. I would use it in this way, and I call it a 3-piece meal. So you can do it where you start off with your website, because that's where you're always going to lead from whenever you send emails or receive website traffic. So have a strong website that has a strong hosting, because some websites may not have hosting. So just look at that, like WordPress, you have to get external hosting. So look at it from that perspective, check those boxes. Then the second thing is start a podcast. When you start a podcast on creators.spotify.com. It used to be called anchor.fm. You can go to creators.spotify.com. When you go to creators.spotify.com, you can log in, sign up, set up a Spotify account for free, set your title, put everything there. And then once you publish your first episode, you have an activated RSS feed. That feed is going to be like your token. So you can now take that, submit it to all the shows, Apple, Amazon, YouTube. When you go to your YouTube channel, there's a section that says podcast. So when you look at that, it will say connect RSS feed, paste it there. And then, so when you have a website, your website is your core. So you can, have all your communications, have your podcast. So when you have your podcast, it's strong. And then the third one now, which is going to help a lot of people find you, is where your episodes will now be leading towards the website. So it's like it's a full loop. So I'll give you an example. You have a website, you talk about, let's say, give me an example. What would you want us to talk about? Just give me one topic so I can use it as an example.
Sara loves Python coding, for example.
Okay, coding. Let's do that. That's a good one. So let's say you have a website and it's about coding, and you're teaching people about Python or CSS or JavaScript or Node or whatever it is that people are going to now get into. Now, when it comes to that, there are people who understand that jargon. Somebody that may have never heard of what JS stands for, JavaScript, they may not know that. So your podcast would be from your website. So when you have your website and you have those blogs, you have those topics, you can use that and build connections with people, start a podcast, and then do something called FAQs, frequently asked questions about JavaScript, frequently asked questions about Python coding. That word that is there, when people type in Python coding FAQs or Python coding this or that, the AI and the smart technologies that we have today is going to pick that up and get that back to you. So if you answer those questions and you go to places like answerthepublic.com and you get those questions and connect with people, then you answer those questions on your podcast. That turns into a website link, a web link. So now you're building capacity, and you're not just creating podcast episodes, you're now creating podcast extensions, because now you have, and podcast means iPod plus broadcast. That's how it came to be from Steve Jobs back in 2005. So when you look at broadcast, what are you broadcasting? Are you broadcasting on YouTube only, or are you broadcasting on 20 platforms at the same time? So it's about distribution and using your website, your podcast, and then you can add Pinterest there if you want to do it, because Pinterest is also good for audiograms, for, quotes, all the good stuff that you can do and lead them back into your field. And you also use a website called pod.link, pod.link. That's where you can find all the platforms that people listen to podcasts. So I hope this was helpful, and I wish you all the best, and I'm excited that you guys are starting. We need more people like you here.
Thank you, Favour. This is like very kind of you. First and foremost, you are an amazing guest, and we are lucky to have you today because you shared such valuable insights that, like, usually people, like, even maybe nowadays information is precious, but people usually hide. They don't want to be like open as you are. And I really think you didn't just share tips with this last segment. You actually gave a full lesson regarding like repurposing of content, and that's like really magic, because like I think that same applies to Sara, but clearly she can confirm. My One of the hardest parts when I was like up and coming in this industry was when we query doing SEO and stuff like that, and I always wonder like why you don't repurpose the content, and then like even nowadays I feel 90% of people underutilizing that. Even one piece of written content, article, whatever, can be repurposed in 10, 15, 20 different platforms. So you really like did that in some way that I never like thought about, especially regarding video stuff and how you combine everything. So I'm really grateful for opportunity to share this episode with you. And query before like we finish, I want to give Sara opportunity to ask you if she got like more questions. And at the end, we have our tradition by this point is for you to share like some up and coming professional or personal challenges or like goals that you want to tackle in 2026.
So I don't have questions. I actually wanted to thank Favour. I feel he gave a playbook, right? Like I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take the transcript and plug it somewhere and get a summary and have a checklist. And like, I feel this is very valuable. Thank you so much. You did not hold back, and I really appreciate that. And as Nick said, we always wrap up by asking, like, what is something you're working on? And I need to plug my PC, but you can go continue. I'm just 1 second. Go ahead. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the Sara and Nick podcast. I really appreciate it. And I hope you're able to learn something new. Something that I'm working on right now, and I've already started it, which you can also connect with me on, is you can go to playinc.online, PLAYINC.online. That's the website, or you can go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com. Either of those two, once you sign up and you get the message, you're able to get all the emails and get information. One of the things I'm doing this year is replays. I'm going to be giving exclusive audio and video replays to my community at a fraction of a cost, and people will be able to have access to it and ask me anything. So I've been building it for about 5 years now. So now I'm ready to launch it because I feel like a lot of people have questions and I can't answer every question. So the best way to answer the question is to respond in an episode, which will now give you a private way of listening. So I've built a private podcast extension that's going to allow people to have a paid gateway to come in. So if you like that, even I'm going to be doing free workshops as well. You'll see them on Eventbrite very soon. If you want to connect to me there, I'll also bring them to my LinkedIn. So just follow me, Favour Obasi-ike on LinkedIn. If you just connect to me and you have me in your inbox, you will not miss out on anything that I'm doing for the year.
Amazing. In Favour, once again, thank you so much for being our guest. Also, we didn't give a juicy background behind this episode, as I want to finish with that query. How Favour, and actually I love how you opened that. It's super aligned with your own beliefs that nothing is happened with accident, but how actually we started this episode. It was that like our scheduled guests canceled in the last moment, which we don't appreciate, especially because like we are organizing one podcast per month. And then it happened that, as Favour said, that Sara and Favour, like I think Vijit, you said like 2 days ago, get familiar with it with each other, and then like started all of this amazing conversation that led to this moment. So I'm really grateful for that, and I would really love to close my part of this with that, to thank you once again for being such amazing guest, and to organizing like in 1 minute till midnight, because we really needed to record, and I wasn't sure how this gonna end up because I didn't have time to prepare, but it was amazing. So thanks once again, and yeah, Sara,
Thank you so much, Favour. Yeah, thank you so much, Favour. I really appreciated you jumping in last minute. That's very kind of you. Thank you for all the tips you've shared, and we'll definitely stay connected. We'll check your podcast. I can see it's on tons of platforms. I've learned a lot personally, and I'll definitely be reaching out. And I'm happy that we had this, connection, and I got to know you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.